If you consider any man a friend whom you do not trust as you trust yourself, you are mightily mistaken, and you do not sufficiently understand what true friendship means. When friendship is settled, you must trust. Before friendship is formed, you must pass judgment. Ponder for a long time whether you shall admit a given person to your friendship. But when you have decided to admit him, welcome him with all your heart and soul. Speak as boldly with him as with yourself. Regard him as loyal, and you will make him loyal. Seneca. 1. Self-awareness. In this busy, distracted world, few take the time for profound inward reflection. Yet, it is the starting point for any sincere spiritual journey, including the path of the friend-seeker. Be not afraid to gaze deeply into the mirror of your own soul. What truths might you uncover there? Perhaps you will catch glimpses of behaviors and traits that, while forged in innocence, create friction with those around you. The blunt-spoken man, ever just telling it like it is, wonders why his company is so rarely enjoyed. The aloof academic admires his own brilliance, but appears disinterested in others. The life of the perpetual jester is one long performance, but who seeks true communion with a performing seal? We all possess quirks, insecurities, and defense mechanisms developed long ago for our psychic survival. Left unexamined, these coping tools of a bygone age can become a hidden saboteur. We push away those we most wish to draw near without ever understanding why. The unconscious mind governs many of our impulses and social patterns. Only radical self-inquiry can bring them to light. Do not be disturbed, however, if this exploration uncovers flaws. The sage embraces their imperfections, knowing perfection is reserved for the gods alone. Simply notice when your words or actions miss the mark of relating with wisdom, compassion, and grace. Note where you become anxious, aggressive, needy, or closed off in company. Each self-inflicted relational wound is a chance to grow. For some, this process reveals a deeper truth. You may be more of an alchemist than an ambassador by nature. Just as the artist requires solitude to birth their creative works, you may need stillness to feed the fires of your philosophical introspection. If so, rejoice. The heights of self-knowledge and spiritual clarity are a feast requiring few guests. Yet even the most brilliant sage feels grateful for a few kindred spirits to illuminate the way. Patiently cultivating the virtues you would see reflected in a worthy friend increases your magnetic power. Like pointing two mirrors at each other, each soul's radiance bounces between you, amplifying the light. There is no one-size-fits-all path. Some will always seem to attract deep connections with ease, others must embrace perseverance. The essential question is this: do you stay awake to your own beauty and conscious of its impediments? When the answer is yes, whether you dine alone or host a banquet, your life's feast is sure to be a sumptuous one. 2. Communication skills. Communication is the foundation for all human relationships and interactions. Whether it's with family, friends, colleagues, or even strangers, being able to communicate effectively allows you to connect with others, understand different perspectives, and navigate through life more smoothly. One of the most important aspects of communication is the ability to be a good listener. Too often we get caught up in waiting for our turn to speak, rather than truly taking in what the other person is saying. Make an effort to be present, maintain eye contact, and let the speaker finish their thoughts without interrupting. Ask follow-up questions to show you're engaged and interested in understanding their point of view. Beyond listening, you also want to work on expressing yourself clearly. Speak at a moderate pace, enunciate your words, and organize your thoughts in a logical flow. Pay attention to your tone and body language as well. Open posture and facial expressions can reinforce your verbal messages. If you tend to be soft-spoken, push yourself to project confidence. If you're overly loud or domineering, learn to cede the floor occasionally. It's also crucial to be aware of your audience and tailor your communication style accordingly. How you speak to a child would differ from a conversation with a work superior or an elderly relative. Reading social cues, using appropriate language, and being mindful of the setting and context will make you a more effective communicator overall. Don't forget the value of asking questions. Incisive, thoughtful questions allow you to fill in gaps, clarify points of confusion, and demonstrate engagement with the subject matter. They can also help guide a conversation in a productive direction and avoid misunderstandings. Strong communication is an ongoing practice of skills like listening, explaining, questioning, and adapting. It's the key that unlocks deeper personal connections, resolves conflicts, and allows us to collaborate successfully with others. Make the effort to initiate conversations, be an active participant, and continually refine your abilities. The rewards of becoming an effective communicator are profound and far-reaching. 3. Initiative. We've all heard the adage, "No man is an island." Human beings are fundamentally social creatures hardwired to crave friendship and connection. Friendships don't just happen, they require initiative. You can't simply wait around hoping people will spontaneously become your friends. Building meaningful bonds takes effort and intentionality on your part. The first step is getting yourself out there. Opportunities for new friendships rarely just fall into your lap. You have to actively put yourself in social situations where you can meet new people. Try joining a club, taking a class, getting involved with community organizations, or attending local events. Anywhere there are people with similar interests and values, there is fertile ground for planting friendship seeds. Once you're in those social settings, you actually have to be, well, social. Introduce yourself, have a conversation, and ask questions about others. People are naturally drawn to those with an authentic curiosity about them. As you let your genuine personality shine through, you become memorable and approachable. Those initial connections create potential for deeper friendships down the road. Remember, baby steps are progress too. You don't have to become everyone's best friend overnight. Just focus on making 1 or 2 new casual friends initially. Get comfortable being around them in low-pressure hangouts. Then you can gradually build the friendship deeper on that solid foundation. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't come naturally at first. Like any skill, making friends takes practice. Just keep putting yourself out there, one small conversational risk at a time. The more you make an effort, the more attainable quality friendships become. All it takes is that critical first step of personal initiative. 4. Empathy. Empathy is like a superpower for making friends. When you can see through someone else's eyes and feel what they feel, it creates an instant bond. Empathy is the shortcut to people's hearts and minds. Put yourself in their shoes. Imagine how situations make them think and feel. Let's say your friend is stressed about an upcoming deadline. Don't just brush it off as a big deal. Stop and truly understand the pressure they're under, the fear of failure, and the loss of sleep. Validate those feelings without judgment. When you empathize, it shows you care enough to try to deeply grasp their experience. That understanding goes a long way in making people feel heard, supported, and connected to you on a soulful level. Using empathy means picking up on subtle cues and emotions too. Maybe your friend seems a little down but insists they're fine. Don't take their word for it. Really pay attention to their body language, tone, and behavior to read between the lines. Gently probe a little deeper in a caring way. You've seemed a little off lately. Is there anything you want to talk about? This keen emotional awareness prevents friendships from becoming surface level and disposable. When you attune yourself to somebody's inner life, your bond toughens like a knot reinforced with many intertwined strings. Empathy also involves regulating your own emotional state to allow room for someone else's emotions. If your friend shares an exciting life update, force yourself to stay enthusiastic for them, even if you're feeling down yourself. Put your own emotions on pause to stay attuned to theirs in that moment. Of course, empathy is a two-way street. As you practice deep listening and perspective-taking, your friends will hopefully mirror that empathy back to you. That mutual understanding is the bedrock of any satisfying, supportive friendship. Don't just accuse someone of not getting it when you have a miscommunication or dispute. calmly explain where you were coming from, and openly welcome learning their side too. The goal is always to expand your respective empathy windows, not hyper-defensive lashing out. Ultimately, empathy creates intimacy. By showing you're willing to hop into each other's inner psychological worlds without judgment, you hack into the vulnerability and authenticity core of a friendship. A friend becomes more than just someone to hang out with. They become someone who holds a profound understanding of who you are, all thanks to a little empathetic perspective taking along the way. 5. Common interests. They say birds of a feather flock together, and there's a reason that old adage rings true. Finding people who share your interests and passions is a surefire way to kickstart rewarding friendships. Common ground provides the fertile soil for budding connections to really take root and blossom. Think about the things you're most enthusiastic about, your hobbies, favorite activities, and areas of curiosity. Those interests shape your identity and mindset in profound ways, so it follows that you'd naturally vibe better with others who can relate to that core part of who you are. You're on the same wavelength from the get-go. Let's say you're really into hiking and exploring the outdoors. You'll instantly feel a sense of camaraderie with someone else who can geek out over the best trails, camping gear, nature photography, and so on. An overpowering shared spirit for those pastimes gives you an inherent foundation of mutual understanding. That's not to say your whole relationship will just be about that one interest. It provides your initial bonding catalyst. From there, you branch out to discover other layers you may connect to too. But having that reliable common passion to return to nurtures long-term friendship stability. Joining groups centered around your beloved hobbies and interests is an easy way to surround yourself with like-minded people. Whether it's an intramural sports team, book club, volunteering organization, or even just an online fan community, immerse yourself in whatever scene calls to you. The social opportunities are endless when you take part in areas you're already genuinely invested in. Of course, part of the friendship journey is also exposing each other to new interests. Your ceramics buddy shows you the joy of throwing clay on a wheel. You expand each other's perspectives while still being rooted in whatever united you from day one. Friendship is a stream constantly replenished by a source. Your mutual interests become that endless wellspring, allowing your bond to grow stronger and truer over time, rather than fading like a mirage in the desert. Tap into those common pursuits that light your souls on fire in tandem. That inner spiritual spark has everything to do with forging unbreakable friendship ties that stand the test of time. 6. Boundaries. Friendships thrive in a garden of mutual respect and personal space. Just like plants need room to breathe and spread their roots, human bonds require boundaries to stay healthy. If you smother people's boundaries, it chokes off connection before it can truly blossom. We all have our own comfort zones when it comes to matters like physical touch, emotional intimacy, alone time needs, and so on. These boundaries act as defense mechanisms, preserving our sense of autonomy and identity. Violate those boundaries too severely, and people feel violated themselves, invaded, diminished, and controlled. That breach of trust makes it incredibly hard to keep friendships afloat. The flip side is that having secure boundaries signifies maturity and self-awareness. People feel safe opening up to you emotionally when they can see you respect their boundaries. It creates the trust and mutual consideration foundational to any lasting friendship. So what does it actually mean to respect boundaries on a practical level? It starts with keen self-awareness and observational skills. Pay close attention to the subtle cues people give off through their actions and body language. If a friend seems to clam up when you ask probing personal questions, that's a sign you may be encroaching on an emotional boundary. It is time to change the subject. Likewise, if someone turns down your invitation to hang out, don't take it as a personal rejection. Assume they simply need some alone time to recharge. Pushing too hard for FaceTime when they're not feeling it will only breed deeper disconnection and frustration. Boundaries exist on a spectrum too. What's a relaxed, loose boundary for one friend might be an absolute line in the sand for another. Stay attuned to each person's unique preferences and quirks rather than taking a one-size-fits-all approach. For example, some loved ones cherish surprise visits as grand romantic gestures, while others see them as territory violations. Learn what matters to each individual. Respecting boundaries demonstrates respect for someone's fundamental autonomy as a human being. You accept they're a separate individual from you with their own emotional ecosystem to navigate. Trying to control someone or mold them to your preferences smothers authenticity and independence, the bedrock of any real friendship. 7. Authenticity. In a world that often values polished facades over raw honesty, authentic self-expression is a breath of fresh air. When you unfilter yourself and let your true colors radiate, you become a magnetic force drawing in like-minded souls. Authentic bonds are the juiciest fruits, because what you see is what you deliciously get. Too many people walk through life wearing masks, diluting or concealing their quirks and idiosyncrasies. They deprive the world of their singularly unique perspectives and personalities. In pursuit of broad acceptance, they blend into an indistinguishable human wallpaper pattern. But come on, who wants to be friends with a tan oil-painted background extra from the 1800s? Unmask your vivid self-portrait instead. When you freely own your weird little tics and intricate emotional tapestries, you become unforgettably captivating. All those strange fascinations and frayed philosophical loose ends are straight-up magnetic to the right audience. Birds of a feather really do flock together when you fly your real flag high. Authenticity permits the free flow of vulnerability. You don't have to obsessively censor or shame-proof every little revelation about yourself. When you're true to your essence, people feel that unvarnished transparency like a gentle summer breeze. They sense the emotional safety net, allowing them to collapse into their own vulnerabilities without harsh judgment. Real friendship blossoms in those tender cores. Of course, being authentic doesn't give you the license to be reckless or unkind. Having a filterless stream of unchecked IDs isn't cool. True authenticity walks the mindful line between bold self-expression and basic empathy. It's not about alienating anyone. It's about attracting your parallel-minded fellow humans while still being respectful of differences. At the end of the day, would you rather have surface-level relationships where people merely tolerate the airbrushed shell of you? Or draw people into your intimate inner circle who appreciate every artfully messy dimension of who you fundamentally are? Authenticity is the nucleus around which tight-knit, ride-or-die friendship atoms bond. When you prize and constantly practice being your radically candid self, you'll naturally magnetize a party of like-vibed companions going the distance by your side. 8. Positivity. Positive energy is a magnet for people. When you radiate sunny optimism and enthusiasm, you become a warm, welcoming presence that naturally draws others in. Nobody wants to be stuck in the inescapable black hole of a relentlessly negative person. Constant complaining and negativity are an interpersonal wet blanket that extinguishes sparks of connection before they can ever ignite into flames of friendship. Think about the kind of person you'd want to be around and befriend yourself. Almost certainly someone with an upbeat outlook and cheerful disposition, right? A walking ray of sunshine with a glass-half-full mentality is just plainly more enjoyable to be around than a sulking storm cloud raining on every parade. Positive people give off bright, vibrant energy that brightens up any room or social situation they enter. That's not to say you can never vent frustrations or have down days when you need to lean on your friends for support. That vulnerability and emotional sharing are actually healthy for bonding. The problem arises when negativity becomes your default, chronic setting. If literally every conversation canonically becomes a spiral into pessimism, gossip, or rehashing grievances, it rapidly sucks all the life-giving oxygen out of the friendship. Maintaining an inviting positive attitude is a discipline in itself, but it is also key to attracting quality people into your social circle. It requires self-awareness and conscientious mental reframing to keep your mind in a constructive, opportunity-focused headspace. Maybe your friend got a promotion, but you're feeling stagnant in your career. Instead of raining on their parade out of jealousy, celebrate their win with an earnest congratulations. The high road sustains higher vibration bonds. Developing a wicked sense of humor about life's ups and downs also goes a long way toward keeping things light and joyful in your friendships. Don't take everything so deathly seriously all the time. Have fun, keep it silly, and remind each other not to sweat the small stuff when you can unified laugh about it instead. Laughter is emotional bonding glue. The friendships you'll cherish most are the ones grounded in warmth, laughter, and feeling emotionally lifted just by being in that person's presence. These are the people who fill up your tank when you're running on empty, rather than draining you down to nihilistic vapors. By consciously amplifying positivity in your own attitude and actions, you organically become someone who enriches others' lives through contagious bright-siding. And that's something deeply worth cultivating for both your sake and that of everyone who graces your friendship orbit. 9. Flexibility. Rigidity is the enemy of human connection. If you maintain an inflexible, closed-off posture toward people and perspectives that differ from your own, you rob yourself of so much friendship potential. The juiciest fruits in life's garden often bloom from unexpected places when you embrace an open, adventurous mindset. It's natural to initially gravitate toward people who feel familiar, the same interests, backgrounds, and senses of humor. There's convenience in surrounding yourself with carbon copies of your own identity, but uniformity in your social circle breeds stagnation. You need divergent personalities and worldviews to continuously expose yourself to fresh ideas and perspectives that expand your mind. When you stay open and put personal biases aside, you discover beautiful threads of commonality, even with people who may seem totally unlike you on the surface. Maybe it's bonding over shared struggles with anxiety despite coming from different cultures, or connecting with an older coworker's razor-sharp wit despite an age gap. These unique individuals crack open new windows into how other humans experience the world. An open-minded attitude gives you the flexibility to appreciate and learn from all the various flavors of personalities out there. Not everyone has to be your best soulmate, but making space for diverse voices and backgrounds enriches your own inner universe. Those different people become portals into worlds you may have never otherwise explored or understood. It's also just more fun and interesting to surround yourself with a motley crew of characters rather than a strict, homogeneous clique. A big melting pot of divergent friends means there's always some fresh dynamic keeping things zesty and stimulating amidst the group. You're less likely to succumb to groupthink or get mired in passé habits when every person adds their own distinct seasoning to the social stew. Of course, being open-minded doesn't mean abandoning your core beliefs and values. You can still maintain uncompromising stances around fundamental ethics, while being flexible toward more surface-level differences. It simply means giving people a chance to reveal their substantive selves without superficial prejudgments. 10. Patience. In our era of instant gratification and limitless choice, patience is a superpower. The deepest, most nourishing friendships aren't forged overnight, like flashbang supernovas. They take root slowly and grow over years like mighty oak trees, sturdy, weathered, with rings representing accumulated layers of shared history. Friendships worthy of being called truly meaningful demand an investment of precious time and nurturing. You can't simply snap your fingers and download them like the latest app. These bonds follow an organic process mirroring the cadence of nature itself. You start with tiny seedling acquaintanceships, carefully tending them over the seasons with the waters of quality time, trust, vulnerability, and laughter. Eventually, they mature into lush, fruit-bearing sources of fulfillment in your life's forest if you stay the course. Our mainstream culture conditions us with expectations of immediacy and maximized efficiency. But that mindset overlooks how real intimacy only blossoms on a gradual, meandering timeline. It's about proliferating microscopic moments, private jokes, dear memories, emotional rallying cries, bound together over epochs. Those are strands continually entwining into the unbreakable cables holding your kindred spirits eternally connected. When you rush the process or grow impatient, you risk cutting corners that cause the fledgling bonds to become unstable and wither before reaching their fullest potential. Meaningful friendships need unhurried space to blossom their intricate layers of nuance, idiosyncrasy, and understanding. Chemistry can't be artificially synthesized. It develops over unconstrained hanging out and chill time, expanding your wavelengths in sync. Of course, patience alone isn't enough. You also need to actively nurture the connections through thick and thin. Just as gardeners don't neglect their plants, tending to friendships with steady commitment provides fertile ground for them to thrive season after season. Share the sunlight of joy. Prune back burdensome branches through open communication. Never leave them thirsting. Consistently pour in quality time. With enough devoted love and care over prolonged periods, even chance seedling encounters can morph into redwoods of everlasting closeness. True friendship mastery requires transcending immediate impulses in favor of traditions deeply rooting you in consistency. When you remain patiently present through all the slow ebbs and flows, life's supreme relationship rewards gradually sprout and unfurl. After all, the grandest trees achieve their statures only through the humblest, most incremental patience of adding growth rings across decades of changing winds. Building meaningful friendships requires taking initiative, having empathy, bonding over common interests, respecting boundaries, being authentic, maintaining a positive attitude, having an open and flexible mindset, and, above all, having patience. If you found value in this video about cultivating rewarding friendships, I'd encourage you to like and subscribe to this channel. Stay tuned for more insights and wisdom on how to enrich your life through understanding core human experiences like relationships, personal growth, and finding fulfillment.